Okay, welcome everybody. I make it 12:30, so we will get started. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Bryony Clark. I am the training manager at National Numeracy. I've been here for just under 4 years, and I lead in the delivery of our attitudinal programs and workshops to help adults to feel more confident with numbers. National Numeracy, we are a small independent charity established in 2012 with the vision for everyone in the UK to get on with numbers so that they can get on with life. Our aim is to help everyone feel confident and capable with numbers, and we do this in two main ways. So, raising awareness of the numeracy issue in the UK and helping people to improve both their confidence and their skills with numbers. So today is National Numeracy Day, our flagship campaign dedicated to improving everyday maths confidence. This year's theme is Count on Your Community, because no one should feel alone when it comes to numbers. Count on Your Community is a thread that will run throughout today's session. So in just 1 hour, feel more confident with numbers in everyday life and better equipped to support the people around you. So when we talk about numeracy today, we're not talking about sitting exams or solving equations on a board. We're talking about numbers in our everyday life. So this is not a maths test at all. We're focusing on confidence, not correctness. So whether you're here to improve your own confidence with numbers or to better support others, such as your children, you are in the right place. Numbers are a part of everyday life and decision making. They come into play at work, with career opportunities, when managing money, supporting children, planning and organising daily life, and just feeling more in control and on top of things. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by exploring how people feel about maths, with the understanding that everyone has had a different relationship with maths depending on their experiences. So in a moment, I will share this video with you where we've spoken to lots of different people from various backgrounds and different workforces, and we've asked them to talk about their feelings towards maths. While the video plays, I would like you to have a think about whether any of these feelings maybe resonate with you. And then afterwards, I'm going to launch a poll, which will be anonymous, to see where your feelings are at and where your confidence levels are at in terms of how you feel towards maths. So I'll play this video, but just like I say, while it plays, have a think about whether any of these feelings resonate with you.
I do feel quite worried when it comes to maths. I always struggled at school, and now when I have to use maths at work, I always get a little bit anxious. It's a bit of a mental block for me.
I didn't like school anyway. I was quite anxious in large classes. But when you get told off a lot in class because you're not doing it the right way, I felt like I was told off a lot, you kind of give in.
Panic will set in because they'll be going through the bill and have I worked it out right? You know what I mean? So I don't want people thinking I can't do maths.
Just the pressure of actually getting it right, just makes me a bit nervous, and I try and avoid it. Well, I used to try and avoid it.
Maths absolutely terrifies me. It has done since I left school. It was the worst subject in my school life.
The first word that comes to mind is basically stupid. It's always been a struggle, and I never really got got on with maths. You know, every time I tried to answer a question, it seemed like I could never do it.
When I think about maths, I feel anxious, worried and embarrassed. This is because when my daughter went up to high school, she came home with the first lot of maths homework, which was exciting for her. And then when she gave it to me, I was instantly taken aback. I couldn't do it, I didn't know what it was. I had to redirect her back to school and pretend I didn't have time, and I was really embarrassed.
Okay, so there are quite a lot of strong feelings shared in that video there. And if you do feel the same way, it's really important to remember that you are not alone. So what I'd like you to do now is think of a time when you've been faced with maths, maybe when supporting someone else, such as a child, or maybe when managing your money, or maybe something in the workplace, and really start to reflect on how that made you feel. So how do you feel about maths? I'm going to launch a poll asking that question, and there'll be responses to select from as shown in those speech bubbles there. So please do answer it as honestly as you can, and then we'll see what the results are like. Like I say, this is a anonymous poll, so I won't be sharing your results with anyone in the webinar. You should hopefully be able to see that on your screen. How do you feel about maths? I feel anxious about it. I avoid it where possible. I get by but lack confidence. I'm okay with everyday maths, and I feel confident. I'll just leave that open for another few seconds or so until we get those responses through. Hey, I think we've just had some people join, so hopefully you can see that poll there. If not, just have a think about that question to yourself and think about how you'd respond using those speech bubbles around the sides. Okay, I'm going to end that there. Hopefully we've got through most responses. And just to give you a sort of snapshot, we've got quite a range of feelings, which is completely what we expect. Straight away, we can see that we're not alone in how we feel. There's somebody else that feels that very same way. So thank you so much for taking that time to reflect on how you feel towards maths. And of course, over the course of this session, we hope that we can improve those feelings, improve your confidence towards maths. This word cloud here is just showing responses from over 1,000 people who were asked to describe how they feel about maths in just one word. So the bigger the word, the more often it was used. So you can see that the largest words are mostly negative, with anxious being the most common word used. So it's just highlighting that many people in the UK don't feel positively about maths, and that these feelings are very widely shared. Now, around half of working age adults in the country are estimated to have the numeracy level expected of a primary school child, so a child aged 11 and under. That's 57% of England, 60% of Northern Ireland, and then broadly similar levels in Wales and Scotland. We know this has a negative impact on people around financial stress, employment opportunities, and supporting children's learning. 59% of parents find maths the toughest subject to teach their children. Now, this isn't about ability, it's about opportunity, confidence, and support. Low confidence with maths often comes from negative experiences at school, pressure to get things right quickly, or being told we're not a maths person. Now, over time, this can develop into maths anxiety. Maybe some of this sounds familiar to you. It can, of course, look different for each individual. These are the most sort of common feelings and signs that people have shared with us, noting that physical symptoms include a rapid heart rate, sweaty palms, or that feeling of a knot in our stomach. And a lot of people carry these experiences quietly. Often, the most obvious sign that somebody is struggling with low confidence with maths is that sign of avoidance. So, avoiding any situations which involve maths can be that clear indicator that somebody has maths anxiety or is lacking that confidence. Now, at National Numeracy, we have worked with adults who've avoided maths for years, but gradually built that confidence through small, everyday steps. And reading or hearing their stories can be a really powerful tool, especially when you see someone who has overcome those similar challenges to you. And sharing these experiences can also help others to feel less alone and more hopeful about improving their own confidence with numbers. In some cases, low confidence with numbers can be identified as maths anxiety. There are lots of different definitions of maths anxiety. This here in that purple speech bubble is just one of the definitions. And there have been many studies into the prevalence of maths anxiety. And although there isn't a single figure, the studies generally do agree that maths anxiety affects about a third of the population. And sadly, that is both adults and children. So studies have found that children as young as 6 experience maths anxiety as well. And this all comes from experiences. Maths anxiety is learned, which means it can be unlearned. Just to touch briefly on dyscalculia. Now, dyscalculia, you may have heard of it. It's the learning difficulty which affects a person's ability to understand, to learn, and to use maths, especially arithmetic. It's different from those with low confidence or low skills in maths. Often we might hear it described as dyslexia with numbers, but it is much less well known and less researched than dyslexia. It's thought that the research into dyscalculia is around 30 years behind research into dyslexia, so we've still got quite a long way to go with it. But it is thought to affect around 1 in 20 people, according to Dyscalculia Network. It can occur on its own, or it can occur alongside other difficulties with things such as dyslexia, ADHD, and things like that. If you'd like further information or support, then Dyscalculia Network, their website is probably the most helpful place to start for more advice and support. But what's really, really important to remember is that whether somebody has dyscalculia, they have maths anxiety, or they lack confidence with maths, everyone is capable of improving as an adult. And improvement will look different for different people. For some, it might be that they need some specialist support. For others, it might just be a slower process. But improvement is certainly possible for everyone. Now, here's how to build your confidence of maths and support others to do the same. Remember that community matters and confidence grows when we talk about numbers, we share our experiences, and we support each other. So firstly, talking openly about maths anxiety or maths in general can be powerful. Many people keep these feelings to themselves, but once we talk about them, we realise actually how common they are and how understandable they are as well. It's also worth gently challenging the stories that we might tell ourselves about maths. Are those thoughts actually fair? Or are we being much harsher on ourselves than we would be with anyone else? And we're going to explore this together in our Mythbuster activity. Try to resist the urge to compare yourself to people. It's easy to look around and think they find this easy, and so therefore I should too. But someone else's experience of maths has nothing to do with yours. Comparison doesn't help learning, it just adds that pressure instead. And then, speaking of pressure, let's reduce it wherever we can. A lot of that pressure is actually coming from ourselves, especially that idea that we should get things right the first time. But that's not how learning works. Of course, mistakes are part of the process. We don't need to be perfect. We should give ourselves space. We should work at our own pace and try not to rush things. Slowing down isn't falling behind, it's how that real understanding happens. Then set yourself goals that are realistic and manageable. Think small, achievable steps. Those small steps really do matter. When you hit those goals, your confidence will build naturally. If the goals are too big or too unrealistic, it can knock your confidence instead of growing it, because we're not seeing that progress as quickly as we might be expecting it. And then finally, be kind to yourself, and really kind. Talk to yourself the way that you would talk to a close friend. You wouldn't call them stupid or tell them that they'll never get it. So it's really important that we don't do that to ourselves either. Now, I want to introduce you to our positive attitudinal approach to improving confidence with numbers. And this is called value, belief, and persistence. I'm going to play a short video for you, which introduces this approach in a bit more detail. And then I'll take you through each section one by one and give you some further insight.
At National Numeracy, we think there are 3 things that really help adults to feel happy about working with numbers. Numeracy helps us in very real ways in our day-to-day lives. This isn't about school maths and techniques like trigonometry and algebra. This is about how numbers help us in real life. We use maths when we schedule appointments, organise rotas, or work to a budget. And we each have individual, personal reasons for seeing the value in improving our numeracy skills. We may want to help our children with their homework. We may need better numeracy skills to develop our career. For all of us, understanding why numeracy skills are valuable helps motivate us to learn. Why do you want to improve? At National Numeracy, people often tell us that they just can't do maths. And yet, time and again, they surprise themselves. The truth is, whatever our starting point, every single one of us has the capacity to improve our maths. We can all be numbers people. To improve our numeracy skills, we have to keep practicing. It's okay to find it difficult. We will make mistakes along the way and find some things harder than others. Just as with driving or cooking, or any other skill, we learn from our mistakes. The more we practice, the better we get. And the more we do, the more we can do. When we understand the value of numeracy, have belief in our own ability to improve, and persist with learning numeracy skills, we become more confident about working with numbers. Once you have that confidence, your skills will really start to grow.
Okay, so value then. Think about where numbers show up in your life. Value is about recognizing where numbers already play a role in our everyday lives. Many people do think of maths as something that just belongs in school, but numeracy is something that we all use all of the time, often without realizing it as well. So we use numbers when managing money, planning journeys, shopping, cooking, supporting children, and making decisions at work and at home. And when we begin to see the value of numeracy in everyday life, it can help to shift our mindset from why do I need this to actually I already use numbers every day. So that understanding can be a really important first step in building that confidence with numbers. Now we're moving on to the second part of the approach, so belief. A lot of how we feel about maths comes from beliefs that we've built up over time, often through school experiences, pressure, comparison, or things we've heard from other people. So we're going to do a quick Mythbuster activity together using the Zoom polls. I'm going to share a statement on the screen, and I'd like you to vote how much you agree or disagree with the statement. There are no right or wrong answers here. The aim is simply to reflect honestly and start thinking about some of the beliefs that we might hold around maths. So the first one is this here. Doing maths now will be just like going back to school. So I would just launch that in a poll so that you can vote how much you agree or disagree. See if I can just get it ready. Bear with me. Okay, for some reason, it's not allowing me to launch that as a poll. So instead, you might be able to use the chat. Otherwise, we can do it as just a reflection piece to ourselves. So I do apologise that my polls are not working for some reason. But yeah, just have that think instead about how much you agree or disagree with this. Generally, there are divides in opinions on this. Some people think it's going to be very different. Some people might think, well, it's still learning, so it is going to be much like going back to school, or it might be partially the same, so they might partially agree with it. But yeah, many people do worry that improving their maths as an adult means maybe reliving those negative school experiences. But actually, learning is very different. As adults, we have much more choice, much more control. We can choose what we learn, we can choose how we learn, and the pace that we learn at. And learning might happen online, it might happen in the workplace, or it might happen through everyday life, not necessarily a classroom. But if we do opt for, thank you very much, it's launched now. If we do opt for adult learning in a classroom environment, there's going to be sort of less pressure and less judgment than in the school. Wonderful, I can see those coming through. Thank you. Brilliant. I'll just leave that up a moment longer, just while you have a think about that statement. Okay, I'll end that there and we'll move on. Hopefully you can see that. But yes, quite a split in opinion. So as I was saying, people might have different thoughts on this for many different reasons. But what we want to get across is that it is going to be different to school. It's not going to be like those negative experiences that a lot of us may have had. Okay, wonderful. Let me go back to my polls and I will launch the next one, which is around this statement here. Some people are maths people, others are not. I'll launch that there. So do you agree, disagree, maybe partially agree or partially disagree with this statement? Thanks, I can see them coming through. Okay, I'll leave that up for a moment longer just to get the majority of votes through. Wonderful. I'll end that one there and share those results. And typical of what we see with this statement here when we do this activity with other groups, that yes, there's again a dividing opinion, lots of different thoughts on this. Now, this one is something very common that we hear a lot of people saying, that they don't have a maths brain or they don't have a maths gene. But there is no such thing. There is no scientific evidence to support this idea of a maths brain or a maths gene. People grow up with different experiences, opportunities, and confidence levels, and these all shape how we feel about maths. Confidence and support play that huge role in learning. And importantly, women and men are equally capable of succeeding in maths. It's all about nurture over nature. So like I said, all these experiences that we have, just like with any other skill, such as learning or maybe training for a marathon, for example. I couldn't do that tomorrow. If I wanted to, I couldn't run a marathon tomorrow. But if I put that time, that effort in and really practiced and kept up with the training, then I would be able to. So it is all about these experiences that we've had. But we want people to have this idea that we can all be numbers people because we're all using numbers all of the time in our daily lives. Okay, wonderful. I'll launch the final one then. So this statement here, everyone can improve their maths with effort and the right support. Let me launch that as a poll. Again, pop in whether you agree or disagree with this statement. Wonderful, I can see those coming through. Looking pretty positive so far. I will end that one there. Yeah, wonderful to see that most people are agreeing with this statement here. This is absolutely a belief that we want to move towards. Of course, improvement looks different for different people. For some people, it might mean gaining a qualification, while for others, it might simply mean feeling more confident with everyday tasks like budgeting, traveling, supporting our children. And at National Numeracy, we have worked with many people who once believed that they could never improve or they weren't capable of improving, but they built confidence through small steps, practice, and support as well. So thank you so much for taking part in those polls. I apologise for the technical blip with the first one, but hopefully these polls have encouraged you to reflect on some of the beliefs that you may hold about maths and how those beliefs can shape our confidence. Because when we begin to really challenge those beliefs, it can open the door to learning, to growth, and to feeling more positive about numbers. So moving on then to the final part of our approach, and this is all around persistence. So I'd like you to just think to yourself about something unrelated to maths that you once found difficult. So maybe it was learning to drive, maybe it was starting a new job, or learning a new skill, or building confidence in something new. And really think about what helped you to keep going, what kept you on track, what was that motivating factor. So why didn't you give up? And maybe what steps you took to overcome those difficulties. Okay, what really just kept you on that track and made you really strive and persist for that end goal. Now, usually it wasn't because you got everything right immediately. It was because you practiced, you learned from mistakes, you asked for the support that you might have needed, and you took those small steps forward over time. We can apply that same mindset to maths. Confidence with numbers doesn't come from being perfect. It grows through persistence, practice, and believing that improvement is possible. So with a growth mindset, mistakes are seen as part of learning, not proof that we've failed. So instead of saying, I can't do this, we can start saying, I can't do this yet. So it's that power of yet. And also when children hear that language from us, it helps them to build that resilience too. So progress matters more than perfection. And importantly, confidence grows faster when we don't do it alone. So when we work with parents or carers or anyone working with children, we introduce these 4 simple tips for helping children to develop these positive attitudes towards maths. Now, these tips focus on confidence and mindset, and most don't require the adults to do any actual maths themselves. So you don't need to have all of the answers to support someone else's learning. So the first tip is pointing out maths in the real world. Then we've got being positive about maths or talking positively about maths. Third tip is praising effort rather than talent. And the 4th tip is about improving your own confidence. So that first one then, pointing out maths in the real world. We want children to see maths as part of everyday life, not just something that happens in school. So spotting maths in daily life helps children to understand why learning maths matters, and it shows families that they can support maths learning outside of school. So going back to that value approach, where do numbers show up most in your day? What opportunities are there to point out maths to children, the children in your lives? We use numeracy all of the time. So planning journeys is using time, it's thinking about distances, maybe comparing fuel prices, thinking about directions. If it's public transport, it might be looking at train timetables and bus timetables. Then with shopping, we're possibly working towards a budget. We're thinking about the best prices, the best offers, maybe percentages if there's a sale on, and maybe handling money and change. Cooking, we use measurements, timing, scaling recipes up and down, cutting up slices of a pizza or a cake to make sure we've got enough pieces for everyone. And then finally, making financial decisions. So whether that's comparing prices of something, thinking about mortgage rates, credit cards, maybe it's saving up for a holiday as a family or a day out in the half-term holidays. So again, making those financial decisions on a daily basis, and what opportunities are there to point that out to our children. So these everyday moments can help children to see that value of maths without needing worksheets or formal teaching. Simply talking through your thinking and involving children in daily activities can make that big difference to their confidence with numbers. Moving on then, so talking positively about maths is really important because children pick up on the attitudes and the language that they hear around them. If we've had negative experiences ourselves, we can sometimes pass those feelings on without actually realizing it. So it can be helpful to really reflect on what messages did you hear about maths growing up? Were they positive? Were they possibly negative? And this carries into when we praise children. It's important to focus on effort rather than talent. So when we only praise being clever, children can start to fear the mistakes. So, for example, instead of saying you're so clever, you're naturally good at maths, maths is so easy for you, we should be saying you've worked really hard at that, you've learned a lot, and you kept going with that even when it was tricky. So, praising effort helps children to see that success comes from practice and persistence, not natural ability. And it also means that every child's effort is recognised, not just those who get the answer right quickly. So our final top tip is boosting your own confidence with numbers and improving your everyday math skills. You can absolutely support others regardless of your own maths ability, but building your own confidence and skills can help you feel more comfortable having a go and engaging with numeracy in everyday life. So this is where the National Numeracy Challenge comes in. This is a free online learning tool designed to help adults to build their confidence with numbers. I'll just pause that and I'll play it in a moment. But yeah, it's designed to help adults to improve their everyday math skills in those manageable steps whilst building their number confidence. And it is based very much on maths in the real world. So maths at home, maths at work, and maths with supporting children. As I said, it's completely free to the user and it can be used on any device, including mobile phones as well. So I'll play this video now. Which just goes into a bit of detail about what the challenge is, how it can help you, and then I will share a link and a QR code so you can register in your own time.
Hi, I'm Shannon. I used to feel so anxious about maths. It stopped me from applying for my dream job. But I improved my number confidence and skills using the National Numeracy Challenge, a free website from the charity National Numeracy. It's easy to use and personalised to your own level. You learn at your own pace, anywhere, anytime, on any device. And it's all about everyday maths, from managing your money, getting on at work, or helping children. So however you feel about maths, the National Numeracy Challenge can help. The National Numeracy Challenge will ask you how you feel about maths and why you want to improve. Your answers will help create a learning journey tailored just for you. You receive free check results, encouragement and supporting material. A 10-minute quick check will make sure you get the right support. It isn't a test, you don't need to do it in one go, and you can use a calculator or pen and paper, whatever works for you. The National Numeracy Challenge helps you learn in a bite-sized way. If you've got any questions wrong in your quick check, you'll be shown how to get them right. Work through them at your own pace, and when you're ready, take another check. After a few goes, you might find that your score is getting better. The National Numeracy Challenge is unique because it helps build your confidence with numbers as well as your skills. The Feeling Good About Maths area is dedicated to videos, quizzes, and other confidence boosting resources, supporting you to stay motivated and feel positive. You can take a longer check and print off a certificate to mark your achievement. It's a great way to help get a job, progress in your career, or get ready to take a qualification like Functional Skills Maths. Lots of partners from retailers to the NHS use the National Numeracy Challenge check as part of their workplace training or education programme. Doing the National Numeracy Challenge gave me the confidence to apply for that dream job, and I got it. Have a go at the National Numeracy Challenge today and see where it takes you.
Okay, so we'd love on this National Numeracy Day for you to register for the National Numeracy Challenge and start improving your confidence and skills. So I will post the link into the chat so that you can hopefully access it. If not, please do scan that QR code or go onto our website and register for it through that. But it is helping thousands of people across the UK to improve their skills and their confidence. As I said, it is completely free. It's an account-based system, so you will have to create an account with an email address and a password, but that way it saves your progress and it keeps you motivated and on track with improving your number skills and confidence. So have a go at it today. See where your skills are at and hopefully see them improve over time whilst continuing to engage with all of the resources and the content on there. Another resource then that I'd like to share with you is the Family Maths Toolkit. And this is a suite of over 200 practical activities that families can do together using everyday maths. They are designed to spark positive conversations about numbers in a fun and low-pressured way. So these activities are designed for children in primary school, so ages 4 to 11. So particularly if you've got family members in your network, in your community, in your family of that age, then this will be a really, really useful resource for you to utilise. Just to give an example of the kind of activities there is an activity called At the Zoo, which is getting children to group animals together based on how many legs they have. And the child is then encouraged to display their working out in any way that they like, whether that's a tally chart, drawing pictures, or a pictogram. And it doesn't have to be a trip to the zoo. It could be a trip to the farm park. It could be whilst watching a wildlife programme on telly, or it could be using toy animals and grouping animals in that way. So have a look if you've got children you think it would be useful. Scan that QR code and download it and engage with it. Okay. So we're nearly at the end, but confidence with numbers doesn't come from being naturally gifted at maths. It grows through that support, practice, and believing that that improvement is possible. And you do not have to do it alone. So before we finish, I just want you to take a moment to really reflect on today's session. What is one small thing that you will do differently this week to feel more confident with numbers or to support someone else with theirs? So for example, it could be noticing when numbers show up in your day. It could be trying to talk more positively about maths. It could be trying one small step on the National Numeracy Challenge. Or it could be involving children in a simple everyday maths moment like shopping or cooking. So I just want to give you that time to reflect on that. In a moment, I'm going to be launching a feedback form and you will be asked about what it is you'd like to do differently this week. So really bear that in mind, ready for that feedback form. Okay, so thank you so much for joining today's session. We hope it has helped you to feel more confident with numbers in everyday life and reminded you that progress comes from those small steps and not perfection. So whether it is for you or someone you support, every positive change makes a difference. So thank you so much for being a part of today. Before you head off, as I said, we'd really appreciate your feedback. It should take no more than 5 minutes to complete. And your responses genuinely help us to improve and reach more people who might be feeling the very same way. So there is a QR code there for you to scan, or I can launch it as a Zoom poll as well for you to complete there. So it's entirely up to you how you complete it. I'll stay on until everybody's completed it. But thank you so much for joining today. And please do engage with our resources, with the content all around National Numeracy Day. Have a look at that National Numeracy Challenge and use it for your skills and your confidence. And best of luck on your maths journey. And once you've completed that feedback form, you are welcome to leave. Thank you so much and enjoy the rest of your day.